First up, it is election night in states across the country. All eyes on Virginia, where the polls closed over an hour ago. Tonight's contest between Democratic former Governor Terry McAuliffe and Republican Glenn Youngkin had been considered neck and neck, but was it really? Joining us now to break down the early results is NewsNation's Leland Vittert, who is live in Washington, D.C. Leland, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Where do things stand right now, as far as we know, in Virginia?
Well, as far as we know right now, you'd a lot rather be Glenn Youngkin watching these results come in than you would be Terry McAuliffe. And that is stunning, given that just a couple of months ago, McAuliffe was seen as the runaway victor in a state that President Biden won by 10 points. We'll put the latest results up there right now that we have in. These are on the NewsNationNow.com website as well. Glenn Youngkin, 609,000 to McAuliffe's 495,000. 37%, 38% of the vote in. But what is so stunning, Dan, to think about is how much better Youngkin is doing versus President Trump in the very key swing counties. These are the affluent counties around D.C. where President Trump is not in any way popular with suburban women. And Glenn Youngkin was able to flip the script on Terry McAuliffe and almost use everything that McAuliffe believes in against him. And suddenly he became the Republican championing education in this race. And you've covered politics for a long time, as have I. I don't ever remember polls showing, quote, education as the #1 issue in a state race.
Yep. And Leland, we understand, look, Virginia saw record levels of early voting, but that typically favors Democrats. But that doesn't tell the whole story about turnout. What do we know based on what we've seen in terms of turnout and, as you point out, in the key counties?
Great question. Glenn Youngkin, a very different candidate than President Trump, kept President Trump at arm's length, almost like the crazy uncle who you don't want to have to Thanksgiving. But Glenn Youngkin said, vote early. He came out and told his supporters to do that. President Trump obviously did something very different in 2020. So it's very difficult to read into simply the numbers right now of how much the early vote is. What's interesting, though, is that if you look at some of the exit polling, depending on who you look at, it does not appear as though all the, quote, typically Democratic voters are necessarily voting Democratic. And we're seeing in a number of counties, Youngkin run 5-10 points ahead of where President Trump did in those counties. Remember, there's a lot of places that Youngkin doesn't have to flip. He just can't get beat 2-1 in the way that Biden beat Trump.
And you used the phrase, you would rather be Youngkin right now watching these results come in rather than Terry McAuliffe. I want to ask you a final question, which is, those of us in the news business often have to hide information that we know as results are coming in because we don't want to overstate things, et cetera. But it seems that, you know, your analysis there is based on the totality of the circumstances, based on the counties, based on the exit polls, based on the turnout.
Yeah, based on all of that, and also based on some sources that I've talked to and in the way they're looking at things, and you get a sense, right, of the difference here. Fair to say that you've got Terry McAuliffe, who has the math on his side, and Glenn Youngkin, who has the momentum on his side. Virginia is a blue state, but Youngkin tapped into something very special, which you've covered a lot on your show here, Dan, and that is the anger of parents. And they say education's #1. Education has become a proxy for critical race theory, for transgender bathrooms, for mask mandates, for vaccine mandates, for hatred of the teachers' unions. All of that is rolled into education. All that anger is rolled into education right now. And that anger of parents is resulting in the fact that there is a huge majority of parents, 59-39, who are voting for Youngkin.
Thank you for watching. Click the red subscribe button below so you can get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.